We're dropping knowledge on Grambo Bros.
So you talked about your soil mix there, like going through like alfalfa and things like that. And then you mentioned that was your veg recipe. I always just was under the impression that like you built your bed and then that's just veg is merely a light cycle at that point. Do you do different mixes? Do you transplant? What's that look like?
Well, there's kind of like that, like the living soil beds where I did an episode with Mr. Grow It, I'm going to say, almost a year ago now. And that's what the episode was about growing organically in small containers. And a lot of people say, oh, you can't do that. But you can do it. So I don't necessarily do like living soil beds. I do like 3 to 5 gallon pots. And I'll mix my soil up pre-transplant. So I'll mix all that stuff into the soil, transplant my plant, let it go through its thing. But about every 3 weeks, I'll top dress again. So I'll mix my soil up, grow my plant. About 3 weeks later, I'll top dress it again because it does take 3 weeks, 2 weeks to kind of break down and become readily available. It's not available right away. You got to give things time to kind of break down. You got to add your microbes and let the magic happen in the soil. So about 3 weeks into veg, I'll top dress all of that again. And then just before I flip to flower, I'll then get into like the 284, like the Power Bloom. And I have different teas that I use in flower, like the other stuff, the oyster shell flour, the kelp meal, the alfalfa. That stuff I will still continue to add. So my main difference is now I'm not using the 444. I'm using the 284 when I'm in flower. So that's pretty much what I'll switch there. And then my teas, instead of doing like a regular compost tea, for flower, I'll do a mycelium tea. So one is a bacterial tea that I use in veg. And then I use a fungal tea for flower. So I'll create like a mycelium on, I take the watering trays, like the plant trays that you put your pots in. So I'll get one of those and I'll fill it up with some Pro-Mix, some worm castings. I'll take some like barley pearls and I'll blend those up so it's a powder, kind of sprinkle that over, add a little bit of like alfalfa or kelp meal or something, whatever I got kind of, and you wet it. You put it on a heat mat in a bag and you don't seal it. You just kind of like cover it. Let a little bit of air flow in there. Then over 2-3 days, you'll get like that thick layer of mycelium in there, like that white layer. So I'll take that and I'll dump that into a bucket of water, 5-gallon bucket, 2-gallon bucket, whatever you're working with. And I'll bubble that for 48 to 72 hours. So a fungal tea takes a little bit longer than a bacterial tea. So you let that go, and then once that kind of starts to froth up and kind of bubble over, that's when you know that one's ready. But that one usually takes about 3 days, 2.5, 3 days. So, and that one's that's a flower.
It's basically the bacteria is good for breaking down the actual like solid elements, and then but then probably doesn't have the force. Because when I think of mycelium, I think just churning. I used to grow mushrooms, psilocybe cubensis back in the day.
It's basically what you're doing. You're growing the beginning stages of mushrooms, basically, and before you get the mushrooms, I mean, you might get a couple in there, but before you get to the mushroom stage, you're putting that into your water. And I like to let everything bubble 24 hours before I ever add to it. Like I try to, because I use tap water, so I try to evaporate as much of that chlorine and all that nonsense that they put into our tap water out. I'll never get it all, but I mean, I try to do my best. I don't have osmosis or anything like that. So, I do use like a carbon filter. It's an RV filter. So I do add that onto my tap and I run my water through there first. So I try to clear out as much as I can, but I mean, I'll never get it all, unfortunately. But unless you're using like a well water or like a reverse osmosis or something like that, you'll never really get it all out.
Last week I talked about like how surprising it is of like when you actually look at what a plant is made of. It's 45% carbon, 45% oxygen, and I was like, that's so bizarre. And so like we're filtering the air with carbon filters, we're filtering the water with carbon filtration. I mean, damn, carbon, inanimate carbon rod, you badass.
I wish I saw a post actually. I don't remember who it was off the top of my head, and I wish I did because they were saying if you're in your grow room smoking, not cigarettes, because I mean that's good for nobody, but if you're in your grow tent, your room, whatever it is, and you're smoking a joint or hit your bong or whatever, they were saying that's actually good for your plants. The carbon from that is actually good for your plants. So
We're dropping knowledge on Grambo.